All right, everyone. Right now, the far left is trashing Joe Biden. I don't mean just the candidates. Like, it's inevitable that candidates in a field are going to attack one another because only one of them can win. So, yeah, they all want to destroy one another. If Biden weren't there, they would attack whoever the front runner is. They'd attack all the others. They'd rip each other to shreds like a bunch of diseased, caged animals slowly starving and wallowing in their own filth, which is a pretty apt comparison for the Democratic field right now. But here's the thing. Insofar as they're smashing Biden over the head all the time, I don't mean the candidates, I mean the legacy media, not like the Vox and Salon side of the legacy media that's dedicated towards the Democrats and their liberal causes. They're all attacking Biden up and down. They're saying he's not electable, he's boring, he's got problems, he's got gaffes and stuff. The problem is this: you're setting the stage for the Democrats to lose in 2020. Because the Democrats don't have a problem with someone like Cortez or Maxine Waters. They don't have a problem with people who are way, way out there on the left. Most Americans do. The fact that a proportion of the Democratic partisan grouping, or liberals specifically, have gone further left and dragged the Overton window of the Democratic Party to the left doesn't mean that the nation as a whole has moved at all. The nation as a whole, I think, has moved to the left, again, within this false dichotomous framework, has moved to the left on certain social issues, like on gay rights and stuff. Nobody gives a fuck about that anymore. Nobody's fighting against gay marriage. And other things, certain aspects of environmentalism. Like I can remember when the very existence of green energy 20 years ago was a debate. Oh my God, it's like, it's so terrible, these fucking hippies putting up their solar panels. Now they're all over the place, nobody cares anymore. It's just a free market thing anyway. It's like, yeah, do it if you want to. Now, of course, on the other side, I would argue that Americans have moved to the right on certain fiscal issues, and arguably on other social issues. Like, again, I'm in the minority when it comes to abortion because I'm completely pro-choice. Most people throw in a bunch of exceptions, and so actually, if you look at people who want to temper the existing laws regarding abortion, I'm in the minority. Most of them agree they either don't like abortion at all or they don't have a problem with it, but there are so many exceptions that it's like they sound like, a Bushite maybe 20 years ago or something, or a Dick Cheney sort of acolyte. I understand that, and the nation has actually moved a little bit to the right on that. It's moved to the right certainly on taxation. There doesn't seem to be a whole, a lot of the nation has moved to the left. They're like, oh, tax the rich more, haha, eat the rich. I think most people, though, are hesitant to do that because most people are not extremely poor. It's like on Bernie Sanders' tax plan. Let's say he becomes the nominee. 99% of Americans are going to pay more, or like 90% of Americans. The very bottom rung won't. The people on the next rung, like the bottom 20%, they'll get subsidies so they break even. Everybody else in the country will pay more. And most of them are not actually getting anything out of it. I mean, that the most, they get shitty health care and they get a forgiveness of student loans, but because the tax rate will be so much higher, they're not going to enjoy the fruits, the benefits of that policy. It's like if Bernie Sanders saves me that $500 a month, I'm paying more than $500 a month in new taxes. I'm probably paying double that. Even if you throw in the shitty health care that I'd get for free, I'd still be paying far more now in taxation than anything I'm getting out of that situation. And I'm only in the middle class. I'm not some rich kid who has a $250,000 salary. So keep in mind, if you're, on the upper echelon, you're fucked. Individuals or families. You'll be screwed by Bernie Sanders' healthcare plan. You'd be screwed by Warren's tax plan. Hers is a little bit more tempered than Bernie's. Hers, I think, is talking about upping the marginal tax rate by only like 10%. Well, screw you. That's still going to affect people in the middle class. They're still going to be paying more. Certainly, any of these people would start day one with trying to undo Trump's tax reforms. Well, that means that at the very least you're paying somewhat more. I'm sure that they would reinstitute the mandate, which would mean they'd be going back to penalizing the poor for not being able to afford health care in a strangulated, highly regulated marketplace. Wow, they love the poor so much that they want to take more of their money for being poor. It's interesting how that happens. But Biden is one of the few people there that's capable of it. It's not even about Biden as a person. Let's go beyond that. Fuck Biden as a person. He'd be a weak candidate, that is true. Here's the problem. He stands for an ideological system that is more coherent than what most of the others are standing for. And here's the other part. And this link in the description is what's being spoken of here explicitly. Biden is conciliatory. Biden wants to unite. Biden is interested in trying to govern Americans as opposed to just governing the 51% he wants to vote for him to get him into power. This is actually seen as a bad thing now by the Democratic Party. The description there, the link in the description talks about Kamala Harris, and it's like, Democrats want a killer. They don't want boring old conciliatory nice guy Biden. They want someone to rip Trump apart and destroy the deplorables, basically. That's not how you know. It's not what the average American wants, though. That may be what the Democrats want. Yes, they want someone to be frenetic and insane and come out swinging and say Orange Man bad and stuff like that. If you get bogged down in saying Orange Man bad over and over again, look at Trump and how evil he is. You know what Trump's going to do? And it'll work very well. Say, look how unhinged you are. Look at the economy and diplomacy and every other metric that you can look at. Things are going fine. So how am I the nutty one? You're the one saying you want to increase taxes on the middle class. You're the one who's talking about my free shit. You're the one who wants to call my fans deplorable and all of Americans terrible people if they don't side with you. You're the one espousing socialism, the most failed ideology that ever existed. You're the frenetic one. You're the incoherent one. You're the violent one. You're the party of violence in the most literal sense. He'll point to footage of Antifa at every other fucking political rally and say, my fans aren't doing this. How am I the threat to democracy? How am I the fascist? You're fucking crazy. And he will win by virtue of that. Now, can he do that if Biden is his opponent? No. He can still point to a good economy. He can still point to good diplomacy. He can point to a dozen other things that are in his favor, but he can't call him nuts. Because Biden hasn't taken the bait, and Biden has very wisely come out. This is probably why he's, again, probably still going to get nominated. He came out in response to people querying him on this very thing. Oh, well, the first debate, you slid backwards because, you weren't attacking or whatever. You weren't fiery enough. He's like, I'm not going to change my campaign strategy. Fuck off, basically. The thing is, I think Kamala Harris is still a flash in the pan that'll be forgotten within a few weeks. Warren is more of his opponent, and Warren has her own problems. Yes, Biden probably should punch down a little bit, but not too hard, because then he's an evil white male. He's despicable and deplorable too, and they'll start calling him a sexist probably, which I'm surprised they haven't already begun to do because of his Me Too problem, his optics problem with regards to females that somehow didn't sink his campaign, even though, I mean, he's running as a Democrat. Jesus Christ. Biden, I think, would still lose because Trump has so much leverage. He has every advantage in the world, basically. But he'd do better. He wouldn't rip the Democratic Party apart by running a platformless campaign in which the only thing he says is Trump is crazy. That's not a campaign. The Democrats have lost it. They think that the post-2016 paradigm of stomping their feet and whining is a campaign strategy. They've come to the conclusion that that is going to win them the next election. I'm sad to tell them it's not. Cortez will never be president, so to speak. The idea that acting indignant and enraged and morally self-righteous is a good strategy to become the president of the United States, my goodness. I can name plenty of people on that stage who could never possibly govern in that capacity. And part of it is simply this. Ask yourself who would look believable in that role. As an unbiased observer, just think about it in terms of if you were casting for a movie. Don't think about ideology or anything like that. Only how they say things, not what they say. How they look, not what letters after the name. Do they look believable in the role if you're casting them as the president of the United States? Biden does. He's been VP, so he's been in the White House before. He looks believable. Trump looks believable. He's been the president of the United States for several years. I would hope that he's believable. You can believe it because he's already fucking in that role. There aren't a whole lot of other people up there on the stage that would look believable cast in that position. Buttigieg, arguably, yeah, I mean, a little bit on the young side, but other than that, yeah, for the most part, he's well-spoken. He holds himself upright and so forth. Gillibrand would, except she's completely crushed her own campaign. She's got no chance. That's the second level. Once you've determined who could fill that role, those are your viable candidates as far as optics goes, then look at, did they gain any traction and have they fucked themselves? Biden's already come close on 2 different occasions, and Buttigieg isn't being taken seriously. There's literally only one person there that looks believable and is still fully viable, and that's Trump. And that's why I think he wins in 2020. It's just about having the look. And I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, a lot of people that have been saved money or they've gotten a better job, if a person has had their life improve in any measurable way in the last few years, they're going to tilt towards Trump unless they're a Democratic partisan or extremely far left. And even some of them might become his acolytes in due time. The legacy media, meanwhile, has stubbornly held out against what Scott Adams initially predicted, which is that at some point they would switch and start endorsing Trump. So they would look for any excuse to do it because they want 4 more years of funny tweets to analyze. It's possible. It would be very funny if that happened. Then they've got all sorts of excuses to be able to do that. All they have to do is say, look, there's no Democrat that can beat him, we've lost. Or they can say, well, the Democratic field has gone fucking insane. You know, Salon and Vox won't do that. Maybe the BuzzFeeds and right-wing watches will never back Trump no matter what he does. He could declare himself a Democrat tomorrow and unleash a platform that was basically the left of Bernie Sanders. They'd still say orange man bad at the end of the day. Just imagine that. It's not even ideological with them. It's just they want to be able to complain. They're whiners. They want censorship. They want to crush their independent competitors so they can't pretend to be happy. That's about all. Peace out.